So for this first podcast, I did not wear headphones, so my mic picked up everything my co-hosts were saying, and my desktop picked it up. So it's a bit echoey. That's my fault. Next podcast, I will be wearing headphones to get rid of this problem. Sorry for the echo. That's completely my fault, and it won't happen again. Sorry. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Fact of the Matter podcast, hosted by first Jackson Clausen, who I am, and
Hey, I'm Goose.
And I am Tobias, or you can just call me Toby.
Oh yeah, that sounded like it's like the beginning of
first
a
ever
high school
pod.
presentation.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely.
for sure.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Alright,
We'll
let's
get,
get
we'll
into
get
it.
better at it. But anyways, why don't we first talk about how everyone got into MA? I'll go first. I first got into MMA. I forget which UFC card it was, but I remember the people who were fighting. It was GSP versus Carlos Condit, and I remember I forget where I was, but I remember being told to root for GSP. And ever since that, I've kind of been like on and off of watching UFC. And then in 2016, when Connor got really big, is when I really started paying attention.
Mm.
And Goose,
Who told you? Like,
Connor.
who was it that introduced you?
say that.
GSP.
Oh, I forget who it was. I believe I don't remember. It was a very long time ago. But Goose, you want to go next?
A family? Mm. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've always been a bit into this kind of stuff. I grew up on like watching WWE until I realized it was fake, and then the world fell apart. But and then a few years, many years passed where I just didn't pay like any of this until I was just seeing, those compilations on YouTube about Mike Tyson and then Conor McGregor and like you know, their rise to fame and being humble. So I started to pay a bit more attention then. And then, yeah, it was basically Conor McGregor that really put the UFC into the picture for me. But then compilations and just weird ass interviews with Tony Ferguson, and that hooked me. And yeah, it was so really I knew about MMA thanks to Conor McGregor, and especially his fight with Khabib and Floyd Mayweather. Those were the two that I actually tuned in for. But Tony Ferguson was the one that actually made me a fan, and after that I was just watching prelims even if they sucked. I mean I didn't know any better, so But yeah.
That's really cool, though, I would say. I feel like it's very normal and like very common that you hear a lot of people say Connor got them into the UFC, but I feel like for your position to say Tony Ferguson got you in, it's just, I love that. That's kind of,
Yeah. I
that's
mean the
awesome to
highlights
hear.
is just
You know,
Tony's the man.
something else.
for sure. For sure. I'm like a lot more kind of youthful in my UFC fandom like against you two, I would say. I was told about from my cousins about like the Conor and Khabib fight, and I kind of joined in with them, watched it, but I never really like kind of watched it afterwards. But I think you two really got me in. Like a lot of like the long form videos. Like I started first with like getting into boxing. Like there's like a YouTube channel I would watch. It was like Joe Vincent Presents, and he like does these like really long commentary styles on each like fighters. And it first started with all the boxers and then I think I watched this John Jones video, and that kind of just was like, wow, this guy's a beast. And it kind of just got me to MMA. And then I think it was just at a local sports club and UFC 257. So yeah, we did it a lot more earlier than you guys here. Was on live whilst I was there. I was like, you know what, I'll just watch this. And Izzy finally getting finished against Costa, and I fucked with the. And from then on, I
Oh,
just kind of watched it
celebration.
a little bit too much for sure.
Oh, I completely
Nice,
understand about
nice. What
watching
do you
too
think of
much.
the celebration?
All right.
Do you
Well,
guys do have any background in like martial arts
oh,
yourselves?
so I'll go first. I wrestled for 6 years. Done a little bit of jujitsu and a little bit of MMA, but besides that, not much.
Yeah,
Goose.
no, I have practically zero. I mean, I have done a bit of boxing before, but I mean, they weren't super legit classes. They were mostly just, you know. I do have one friend that did kickboxing and one that did a bit of boxing, so they kind of uh, dragged me along. I mean, I was looking forward. Don't get me wrong, but mostly just hitting pads and sparring with them and a bunch of other people
Hmm.
I didn't know. So I mean, but that's where it stops for me. I desperately want to
Hmm.
start classes though. But yeah, how
Hmm.
about you, Tak? I mean, Toby.
I'm kind of the similar as you. I have my cousin that like has all the gloves and that, but I've and like he's participated and stuff, but I've never done it myself. So all my experience is through sparring him. He's my roommate, so we spar quite often. But they're keen to get into it. I'm mostly just play tennis now, but definitely interested in kickboxing for sure, and I'd be interested in doing BJJ. All of my knowledge is just me being a sad person and just watching a lot of UFC and a lot of like past events and just me catching up to it since I started pretty early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, same here. I watch a lot of analysis, and that's kind of where I get the most knowledge. Just picking stuff up.
But yeah,
It's like
For
Weasel.
sure, yeah.
that's where like striking comes into me. Whenever I do a striking breakdown, I have to like I watch it myself, but I can only know so much because I don't
Mm,
know much
totally.
about it.
Yeah.
I know how to throw a punch correctly, and I know how
You
to
know,
throw some kicks. I've taken a little bit some Muay Thai classes as well, but that's about it.
Oh wow. Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, all right. Why don't we get into the meat and gravy of this? Let's get into
beast to
UFC.
train. I know they really.
Let's get into UFC 295. Let's start with Alex Pereira, the main event.
What an event.
Alex Pereira versus Yuri.
First, what were your thoughts with the main card in general, or like the event in general?
I thought it was a very
What
good
did you
main
think of
event.
it?
Well, I think the main card, yeah,
I thought it was a
the
very
main
good.
card like lived up to
Go
the
ahead.
names and that stuff, and like it kind of had a really nice aura about it, especially when it just started getting into a chain of a lot of the finishes.
Mm,
Like it just was a card that was going by really quickly, but then it was also like, wow, these really big names are just coming up really quickly. Like there wasn't really any time to just like have the suspense for it. Just oh wow, now Ziri and Alex walking out of nowhere. Like oh my god.
What?
yeah, no, I felt the same. It was a very quick card, very fun.
It's not like boxing where they have an
I wasn't
entire
expecting.
rap event in between the and main event where you gotta wait 2.5 hours. But yeah, yeah,
Fucking Eurovision.
Oh yeah.
it was very good event.
But okay, to be fair, I think that was only. Yeah, I think that boxing thing was only because it was like the start of Riyadh season. So
True.
hopefully it doesn't happen again.
I hope so. I hope not. But yeah, I thought it was a
Yeah,
great
no.
main
So do
event.
you guys want to start with the main event, or do we want to start from the bottom up?
Let's start with the main event.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do.
Yuri versus Pereira. Pereira by
Oh,
second
like
round.
before you touch on the fight, do you think TKO? Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, what'd you ask, Taco?
I was just gonna say, just before we touch on the fight, just comments on like the walkouts and like the stare down
Oh,
beforehand.
Oh, this.
I
Yeah,
rewatch.
I
I
forgot
don't
about
usually
that.
rewatch walkouts and stare downs, but dude, I think I try to avoid making these statements because of recency bias, but I really think it's the best set of walkouts and stare down I've ever seen. You know, and I don't think that recency bias. That is just the music as well.
Yeah.
The start with Jerry's walkout music of War. Dude,
Yeah, and especially them
insane.
just
I think definitely there is a quick, like an easy argument for the UFC for sure. Like whenever I
yeah.
think of like the best walkouts, like I always just think of like old Pride, like events and stuff
Mm,
like that, and like
Yeah.
stare downs. I think of Pride and like some kickboxing matches I know from like
Yeah,
K1, but like that was like easily the most intense stare down I've seen in the UFC.
Oh,
Mind me, like
definitely.
there could be some like one I haven't seen from like a
I
while
remember
ago. That's
the
ridiculous, but
right.
that would look to me like stood out for sure.
yeah, that was a good one. Another good
No, I
one
agree.
was the first Islam or the Islam versus Oliveira stare down at the weigh-ins, just nose to nose,
That one's good.
no fear. That was good. I would say this one was
Yeah.
better because of just the longevity of it. It was two. It was a samurai warrior basically versus
Mhm.
like
Look,
a Brazilian like tribal warrior, and it was just them
Tribal warrior.
no fear, no
Yeah.
nothing, just a insane stare down, and lasted the entire time.
yeah.
It it was great. Uh,
Oh my God, I
now
love it. And just the dynamic of Yuri standing in the middle of the octagon, just jumping, like excited to get into it, and then Vegeta just standing like own
All
faced.
the memes, yeah, about
yeah,
that.
Oh,
all the memes.
They're really hilarious now.
I
All
loved
right,
it. Yeah,
now
but okay,
let's
what
get
did you
into
think?
the
How
fight.
did the fight go? Like you thought?
It went a lot longer than I expected. I expected Yuri to try and blitz in and use his weirdness
Mhm.
to try and like use just all offense against Pereira and make it so he couldn't do anything and him try to win
Mm.
that way. And I didn't expect it to. I wouldn't expect that to work. And I was expecting Pereira to eventually get a round one counter and just like KO him. But Yuri did a lot better than I was expecting, and he came in with a better game plan. He used a lot of
Mm.
feints from what I saw, and changed a lot of things. He'd
Yeah.
fake a takedown, go for an
A
uppercut,
lot of fans, yeah.
and those feints were real. Those feints really messed with Pereira. And
I also, yeah.
the only time he didn't feint was when he went into that last one he got KO'd was, and it cost him by not fainting.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Yeah, he actually did get tagged with the exact same hook. The like I think it was a right hook that started the combo for Pejera. Yuri got caught with the exact same thing, but not as cleanly. I don't remember exactly what he threw, but the second time it was just a naked overhand, and of course Pejera's gonna catch you then, right?
Yeah. Another
Yeah.
thing was
It's kind of
Pereira's
crazy
leg
to me.
kicks.
Like watching Pereira, like his. You go ahead.
I was gonna say his
Yeah.
leg kicks as well. He was eating up that his leg kicks. I think is what won Pereira the first round.
For sure.
You guys,
Yeah, like that was kind of crazy. Like when you say that, there was the people on the during the fight on the Twitter that said that they were giving Yuri the round, which I thought I was going to bring up with you guys, which I don't know how someone could give Yuri the first round, like in that kind of sense, but it doesn't really have an effect when the fight doesn't finishes as like with a TKO.
yeah,
It's still kind of interesting to me that I saw people giving Yuri round one, and I was assuming they would base it on that, on the being in top position
yeah, the
and that kind of
ground
stuff, and having that
control.
take.
Didn't
Yeah,
even land too much. Like he landed like two good elbows.
Yeah, he didn't land too
yeah.
much, but
That's it.
people take too much emphasis on the ground control, mainly because of Daniel Cormier. Because and Dominic Cruz, because
Mhm.
they always like try and hype it
Oh
up. They're
yeah.
like, oh, he had 2 minutes of octagon control, and then you look at how they score like looking at like on the ground being on top, and they you look at the rules, and it's just they just see it as a different position. It would be like being on top is equivalent to coming forward while fighting. It's just literally just control
Yeah, I
Yeah.
ground.
think Cruz knows that. Yeah, I think Cruz knows that the rules don't, specifically favor control, but he also knows that the judges,
Yeah,
they
true.
don't know what they're doing, man.
That's true.
For
A lot of the
sure.
judges don't know what they're doing.
Whilst he was on top there, like,
Keep going.
You go
all
ahead,
right,
Tori.
yeah. Whilst he was on top, I was gonna ask you, Jackson, what was your thoughts on, like, since you're mainly the man when it comes to wrestling and that, how do you feel like Alex did from like defending takedowns from Yuri perspective?
I gotta rewatch it, but because I need to rewatch it because I need to look at that specific part. But I remember live. I believe he pushed him to the fence. I believe. Am I correct in that assumption? Did he push him to the fence to get the takedown?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was talking about. I was talking about why.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who. I think I was talking about it with Paulo, where I was talking about how the strategy to pushing up against the fences, when you get those underhooks in on your opponent, the defense to that is to push your hips back. And pushing them against the cage makes it so they can't push their hips back. So if you have underhooks while you're on the cage, it makes it really easy to go down and get that single or double and just sweep them down.
Mm. Yeah, I remember that Pejera. That's when he tried another guillotine similar to the one that he tried against Ian, and it looked tight for a second, but as soon as he let it go, Judy just picked him up.
And
Put him.
slammed him. Yeah, I
And
thought that was a cool slam. But did you think that guillotine was like pretty far in and like pretty like something to be like a factor in deciding the round if it was like from a decision
Um.
standpoint?
Uh.
Oh no, not really.
I don't
It's
think so personally. I don't think it
looking at
was
it.
I don't think the form was tight enough.
I don't think it was. I'm looking at it right now. It doesn't look like it's too in. It looks like he's just kind of like going for a Hail Mary one. It doesn't look like it's really that close to being finished. It is a bit under the neck. It looks like
Right.
he just. It is under the neck. It's just that he was kind of
Yeah,
instead of choking, he was like pulling at the chin, I guess. So it's like if you're looking at it, he's like pulling his hand back, and it looks like he's
Mm.
pulling upwards towards Yuri's chin instead of bringing it up to the neck. If I'm trying to I'm trying to like visual, yeah, trying to
yeah.
visualize it like you're grabbing and you're bringing it towards you're putting pressure towards like the chin
Mm-hmm.
area instead of putting at the neck, which I think it was close. It could be
Yeah.
close if he had correct technique with it, but
Get some people around with like a bulldog choke or something like that, but it's in
yeah,
that position. No.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And then second round comes. I do believe Yuri
For
was
sure.
winning.
Yeah, no,
I think
Go ahead, Goose. I guess.
yeah, for sure. I just thought, yeah, the overall, I mean, like the second round was definitely where we started seeing Fury get some good timing, and I think his
Oh,
unorthodox
yeah.
style really started to get to Alex, especially when he dipped his head. I'll notice when he dipped his head, where he has that weird idea where he's got a good height, but then he lowers himself to like throw these weird unorthodox style that I've seen a lot of people criticize. But it was funnily enough, it was when he was doing that he was getting Alex with some just pretty solid normal shots, like just through the guard and through his through his like hands and stuff like that. But
The
Yeah,
faint uppercuts were actually really close, like 2 or 3 times. throughout the fight. I was impressed, honestly.
yeah. There
But
was.
okay, what do you guys think about this? I think Yuri's style is actually comparable to Dominic Cruz because they both do like unorthodox things,
Yeah.
especially like I mean they don't do it in a similar way, but both dip their heads to feint for either takedowns or overhands, and that's how they catch people. Because I know that Yuri, something that he does a lot is that he dips his head like just completely, like without blocking or anything, no guard. He dips as if he's gonna shoot, and then he jumps into a flying knee, or what we saw now with an uppercut. So I thought actually Pereira was gonna catch him in one of those with a flying knee. That was my prediction.
Yeah.
But
Oh wow.
Interesting.
but
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw it similar to like Dominic Cruz against Chito Vera. You know,
Yeah. Where
Hmm.
yeah it gets
Yuri
that
doing his
perfect timing.
weird, stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that comparison?
Huh. That is
Um,
that is a good
Jackson.
comparison. That is a good comparison, honestly, because of just weirdness. Because he doesn't have the
I would just make
footwork
the
problem. Yep. Go Taco.
yeah.
Toby.
Right.
Yeah, the footwork is the one thing I was going to say. Yeah, as well. Yeah, the footwork is exactly, you hit the nail on the head. I would say is like the one big key difference. Like Yuri's still, I wrote here like yeah, Yuri's still pretty heavy on his lead leg, and even
Mm.
after he was eating some absolutely damaging leg kicks, because Alex Pereira just has a ridiculous overpowered calf kick at this stage. It just seems like he can just destroy anyone, even on the first kicks in the fight.
Yeah,
Even after
100%.
that, Yuri was still being incredibly heavy on his lead leg, and that's like his style has always been that, and he just continued to be like that. And I kind of just found it pretty insane that he just kept with that same stance and being heavy on his lead legs, even if he would just get chopped every
It
time.
almost, to me, it almost looks like he's trying to implement like a samurai stance, or what's called like a horse stance, I think, into his actual
Okay.
style. But it's not. I don't think any martial art really uses it. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but
Oh
it's
yeah.
kind of like it's trying to force it. I don't know. I
It's like a
don't
karate,
know.
maybe. I don't
Have
know.
to research that.
Maybe it's
But yeah, no,
karate.
very heavy on the lead
But
leg.
yeah, he's very heavy on the lead
Yeah, maybe
leg.
D.
And
karate.
Alex Pereira, he just doesn't
Yeah.
even show that he's throwing the. He's got no like tell for when he's throwing it. He just throws it, and it's just always lands so hard. Yeah, DC was talking about how he was like messing around with him, and Pereira threw one leg kick, and he's like, "Man, that was one of the hardest leg kicks I've ever taken," and it was just fooling around.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
crazy in that stage. I mean, so I was going to ask you guys, I feel like the big point of the contention of this fight here, very big contention,
Oh,
is
right.
the finishing sequence and also just the stoppage itself.
Mm.
Yeah,
What did you guys think of it? Are you in alignment with it was
yeah.
early? Do you guys think it was a perfectly fine stoppage? Like,
I'll go first,
What do you
Goose,
think,
because
Jack?
but I haven't rewatched the fight yet. I need to, and I was meaning to, but I've had some stuff I needed to do. But I do believe that he could have maybe swept. However, Yuri does say that he was out
it's
when
so cool.
he does say he was out. But to me, looking at the sequence, it doesn't look like he's out. But in that position, he could definitely, if he does, just sweep Alex over him and come behind to avoid any damage. But Goose, what's your opinion?
Mm. So you think it was early?
I do think it was a little early.
Goose?
Wait, so you're saying it is early?
Yeah, I'm saying it is
Mm.
early.
What do you think, Taco, before I say anything?
I look the distinction between if a stoppage is early and late or if it's good and bad. I definitely think it was early. You
Mm.
can definitely let it play on. But was it a bad stoppage? No. I think you can make the argument, especially since I saw a video of like an angle from like the back like side. He gets knocked like down. You don't know if I can't tell if he's out. It looks like he's probably out. And then into that kind of position where it looks like he's shooting a double leg. And then he eats all those elbows, and then he just lets go of the double leg, and like it kind of looks like his arms just drop, and like I can see that why like a ref standing there was kind of like, oh,
Yeah. All
like
right.
my point I made and like was thinking was like, even if we grant that like, oh, he should have let it on, like he Alex was just put into full guard there immediately.
Yeah, he was. You
I
gotta
don't
give.
think Yuri would have survived, to
I
be
agree.
honest, the full guard there immediately afterwards.
He was in a
So
full
I think it
mount.
was a good call of just beforehand, maybe stopping Yuri. Yeah.
One
Stopping
thing
Yuri from actually getting damaged more, which, I mean, I really love Yuri. I don't want to see him get killed, man.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Pejeda is a very dangerous guy to have on top of you like that.
One thing to
Right.
correct you, Taco,
Yeah,
just on
no.
a technical
Me
standpoint.
personally,
One second, Goose. Just to correct just so because I know the nerds. If whoever
Yeah,
watches
for
this,
sure.
that's a nerd, will say it's full mount, not full guard, or whatever.
oh man.
Oh, full mount. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to say full guard. My bad. Full mount. Yeah.
Oh,
Apologies.
good.
Yeah. Thanks for catching me on that.
Yeah, no. Me personally, I thought it was early the first two times I watched it. I had to really like rewatch the sequence a couple times to make up my mind because it didn't look good. I'll tell you that much. It was very quick, and a few seconds later, Jerry was standing up without wobbling. So I was like, "What the hell?" Kind of early, but no, I think you make a good point. To be honest, being that there's a difference between early and bad necessarily. So I think I don't think it was early anymore because if you look at it from different angles or slow mo especially, try to see what the ref was actually looking at. One, he knocked down, but he had almost lifted him with that left hook. You know, like he was in the air, and then he got knocked down into the takedown, and then his arms went completely limp, and for like a second he was completely out from my eyes. And he
Yeah.
actually, I think he regained consciousness as he was already falling backwards, and that's where he like locked his arms again on
Interesting.
Pereira's legs.
Yeah, it's
But when I saw that, I was like, okay, no, good stoppage.
interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll have to definitely look at those. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Overall,
know.
though, fight.
Yeah, I know. Yuri said that he was out after the fight. He said that I was indeed out
Right.
when that, and he said it was a good stoppage. And obviously, if he's gonna say it's a good stoppage, then
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue with him. No,
I mean, it could also be just being humble, maybe.
true. That is true.
But
It could just be.
Yuri is also quite a very humble person. It seems
mm,
he's taken this loss very well.
Very well.
yeah,
Even when he won the title, he
indeed,
relinquished
indeed.
it to
Overall,
keep
then
it.
after this fight, what do we think should be done now? What should be the matchups made for Alex and Yuri?
All right, Goose, you want to go first?
Mm,
Uh,
sure, sure, sure. I'm thinking. I think, well, as much as I would love to see them fight again and again and again, just because how much I love this fight and the build-up and the walkouts and the styles, especially the way these styles matched up against each other, like very awkward against a very technical striker. I think you have to give it to Hill. And sadly, I think Hill wins, to be honest.
Oh, Oh, wow.
I really do. I
yeah.
really do.
Who do you think Yuri's
But,
next opponent should be?
I think that's what you have to do. I think they'll give Jury the winner of Jan and Rakic. I think they fight January. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. Yeah, 297.
Yeah. I think that one makes sense.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I don't know. There's other opponents. I mean, if you look at the rankings right now, um, well, one we know that Rakic and Jan are fighting,
And
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 Ankalaev is
Alex
gonna
fighting
get
Walker.
a rematch with Walker.
Yeah, they're doing that the first event of 2024.
And then we have who else we have? Do we have?
Not,
Mm-hmm.
not really.
And then
Anyone.
there's just Nikita Krylov.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
there's not much to give.
I don't know if anyone's excited for Jerry against Krylov.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with what you say. The Jan Rakic fight is to. I didn't even realize that they hadn't signed that, but I thought that was a good idea, especially since the first fight ended through like the injury. Like it was kind of no one really likes those fights that end with the injury, and they don't really tell us anything much about kind of the rightful winner of that fight. Kind of
especially when
is always a bit of a stain.
it
So
was
it's good to see that
1-1
run back,
going.
and then that you get Yuri, and
Yeah, keep going, Taco.
They were 1-1.
yeah, and I think the matchup of Yuri against Jan or Yuri against Rakic, like they're both phenomenal fights in my book. So I'm happy with either one of them winning and then getting Yuri. And I don't know if I agree with the Alex losing to Jamal Hill, but I definitely am looking forward to that fight for sure.
Yep.
That would be, and he can redeem Glover, so he's redeemed him with Yuri, and now he can redeem him now with Hill.
I hope so.
All right, and
I don't think it happens, but I hope so.
I do think we are all in agreement.
What do you think, Jack?
I do think we're all in agreement. Hill versus Pereira. And one thing I will say about that fight is I do think Pereira wins, and the reason I do is because Hill likes to fight very technical. And in a technical fight, I think Pereira is a bit. It's hard to beat him when it's pure technique versus pure technique. The reason Yuri was giving him so many problems is because he was so unorthodox and so weird that it was giving Pereira problems. But we'll definitely talk about that fight on a later issue. But I agree.
For sure.
Rocket Kenyan, the winner of that fight, gets Yuri, and I know Yuri and Rocket apparently have beef. So that fight would be very interesting, especially with their apparent beef that they
I
have.
heard about that. It would be interesting if Rakic were to beat Jan, but hopefully it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think Rakic will beat
That doesn't
Jan,
matter.
especially since he hasn't fought since their first fight, and Jan's fought a couple times.
Hmm.
All right, going on to the co-main event, it was Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. What a fucking knockout!
They called me a madman.
That was crazy.
Now
Yeah.
going to that walkout, it was completely different than.
I feel kind of
You're cutting.
would be in the form of that.
Mm.
Interesting. You cut out for a second.
Oh, no.
It's the first time.
I heard you, Toby.
Can you repeat what you said?
Just that I didn't expect Aspinall to win in the way that he won. Like I would have expected it in like a different way, especially through his like really good submission game and like his good grappling. Like I thought that would have been the way he would have finished Pavlovich, but he did it standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It was
I
impressive. Yeah.
I think all of us were. I believe all of us thought before the fight that it was going to be Pav first round knockout. Because I mean he had done it to Derek Lewis.
Yeah, that's.
He had done it to Ty, who we at the time believed had a very good chin, and he still might have a good chin, and then did it to Curtis Blades just. And going into this fight, he had all that momentum. He had a training camp while Tom did not have a training camp. I believe Tom he like fought recently, but so he was still coming off that, like going off whatever injuries he had from that training camp, and then
Jack,
he
you hear
just
me?
goes. Say that again.
Oh, you cut out for quite a bit.
You cut out for both of us. Like
Interesting. My Wi-Fi is at 1 bar. What the fuck? Come on. Can you hear me good? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Hopefully you can just continue and everything's
All
good.
right. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Now I got 4 bars. Okay, I'm good now. I had 1 bar. I was like, what the?
We're back. Business.
All right, we're back in business. But I hope the audio picked up everything I was saying. But basically, I was saying Tom didn't have a training camp. Pav did have a training camp, and Pav had been knocking people out constantly, I think we all were all in agreement that we believed Pav was going to get a first round knockout, and then Tom just he got hurt.
I must stop you right there.
Oh,
We're
Oh
so
yeah,
sorry.
he ate that left
I
hook from Pav.
I'm just
Crazy.
gonna gloat a little bit because so
Mm-hmm.
it like on the pics, that we actually put out, I did pick like my first instinct was Pavlovich by knockout round first, just because I expected Tom to come in the same way that he did against Blade, where he just seemed like super overly excited, ignoring everything coming his way. He got tagged a couple times, and I thought, yeah, no, Pav's just gonna catch him the same way. But round two, although I agree with Toby, I actually I thought it was basically with ground and pound, not with a. It was 1-2 from hell. I actually on the replay
Yeah.
it took like less than a second to close the distance and connect. Insane.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
He
yeah,
definitely has a speed that you don't see in many heavyweights.
yeah. His speed is
insane,
a lot different than
insane.
is just beyond everyone, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that I think this fight put to rest
Yeah.
any comparison between Pav and Nagano. But yeah, Tom,
True.
what a win for him. What's your
Yeah,
guys'
honestly, I
Yeah,
prediction?
think he.
definitely.
Yeah, no, I think he might beat even Francis Ngannou. I'm the biggest Francis stan, whatever you wanna call me. But based on what I saw, right, like I don't know how Francis deals with that speed. He likes check hooks. I mean, I don't know if he can take the power. Even Francis. I was really impressed. I thought Pav was gonna be faster, and boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember me and Jackson, I think all of us were actually talking about this fight before, and I remember the point that I had made was like, Pav has a ridiculously long reach. And I remember Aspinall has like got really good head movement even prior to this fight, but I was worried like Aspinall hasn't fought like someone with this reach, and like his head movement wouldn't suffice that he would still get hit. But Aspinall really proved just how quick he was. He still showed fantastic head movement. He's got really good footwork, obviously, it shows as well. And the one thing that really got me was like when he ate, because you Jackson, you mentioned it, he did get tagged. He got that, I think it was the left hook. Like I was kind of like, wow, Tom must have a chin on him, man.
Yeah,
Like to eat that from Pavlovich, crazy.
I know
Yeah.
that was very impressive. I was very shocked. I watched it. I was like, I remember I saw that hook and I was like, oh, it's that hurt him. And then I'm watching him I'm like, nope, it did not hurt him at all. And then he completely hurt Pav, which I was not.
Yeah,
I was.
crazy.
We were talking about Pav's chin before and how we were thinking that it was a very good chin, and it might be a very good chin, but it could not handle the power
Yeah,
of Tom. Tom's got a special
Well,
power, and especially since he can
right.
grapple as well.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a scary individual.
I think it's hard to call that if Pav has a good chin because I feel like the shot that Tom got on him was right on the temple. I feel
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
like indefinite of anyone's chin. Like if you catch someone like how Tom caught him, I think everyone goes down. I
I
think
agree.
that temple
Yeah.
shot was really phenomenal. And I think the Weasel brought up a really good point about like Tom's so much into his power. Like he just darts in, and that speed definitely is converting into like
yeah,
just force as well,
Yeah, and it's
and definitely
you know
helping out in his case for sure.
what they say is always you get knocked out by the shots you don't see. And if it's too fast for you to even react, those are the ones that put your lights out.
yeah,
So I think the speed is definitely his main. I still think I don't think he's the most elite, but because of the sheer speed with which he landed, I think can't escape it. It translates into
Mm.
power.
yeah. All right. Why don't we talk about
Sure,
next fights for these two individuals? Who do you guys think
for
I
Tom's
sure.
said
next? Let's first discuss Tom. Taco, do you want to go first?
For sure. I feel like I think I've seen a lot of common sentiment, the idea of Tom against Stipe whilst John is out. I don't know how that works timing wise because I've already heard that John has actually started his whole surgery process and like the recovery process. So timing wise, I don't know how it works, but I do agree. I want to see Tom get into the undisputed champ role as soon as possible, or at least to fight for it as soon as possible. If that means a Stipe fight, I think that's a good fight. But I would say Aspinall wins it. I think I'm mostly excited for a John fight. But in terms of Pavlovich, I would say I like the idea of the Russian on Russian fight of Volkov versus Pavlovich for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Goose, you
I
want to go
agree.
next?
What do you think, Jack?
Why don't you go first? I'll go.
Sure, I can go. I can go. Yeah, no, I love that it's a pretty interesting
Mm.
matchup, and that'd be great. Um, or Tom, I mean, to be honest, I could not care less about either Stipe or Jones fighting anymore, and in my eyes, Tom is already undisputed. Like the paper belt really is on Jones' shoulders, you know. That's just how I look at it, and he's not planning to fight any contenders anyway. So anyone Tom fights, I would count it as a defense,
Yeah.
But I don't even want to watch Stipe against Tom because I feel like it's just a sheep for the slaughter. Stipe's kind of done.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Instead, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I'm looking at the rankings, and no one really makes sense at the moment other than John Jones for the unification. Like, I don't think Stipe makes sense. I don't think he deserves that fight, and I don't think anything else matters right now other than unifying the belts. Personally.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I definitely.
I think looking at the rankings though, there's a lot of fights that have just lined up themselves here very nicely though. You've got Garn versus Almeida, you've got that idea of the Pavlovich Volkov, and then you've got Blades here, and you can just do him against Spivak, and I think that works
Mm.
pretty well. And that's the 8 sorted already, like
Yeah.
for
Yeah, I
sure.
agree.
Now
Any
here's where
thoughts, Jack?
I'm going to mix it up a bit. I'm saying
Mm.
we
Yeah, go
do
ahead.
we do Gon versus Tom Aspinall for his first title defense because I agree with you, Goose. I believe this is the undisputed, and we do Gelatin Almeida versus Pavlich. I love that Russian on Russian one. That would be an interesting one. But I do think
Almeida
Gelatin
would be interesting.
Gelatin versus Pav because Pav, I mean, he did get taken down by Overeem. However, I wouldn't be surprised if he increases. He got his wrestling a bit better from then. So I wonder why not test it
Mm.
versus Gelatin. Let's see who gets it first. The knockout. Does Gelatin's chin hold up like it did versus Lewis, or will it be Pav's anti grappling that will win it, or that will either lose it or win it for him?
Yeah,
It's not
that's
about
a
matches. Yeah.
that's a good matchup as well for sure. I do agree. I think there is definitely just need. I think Gon and Almeida, Pavlovich, and Volkov. We need to just see what happens with those four. I
Oh
think
yeah.
they're definitely in the running there for like who's going to be in like next in line for
Yeah.
sure. Like whatever works there, I think
Yeah.
will sort itself out, right?
I
I
definitely
think
agree.
honestly, Tom will wait for Jones. In the meantime, like as everyone fight each other,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Tom just fights. Jones will never do it, but
Yeah. I agree. Like
ideally,
I believe Jones should. I don't like the Stipe versus Jones fight, not at this time. Anyways, but I hear
right?
Dana's already said that that fight's gonna be next. Even this Pav versus Tom
Yeah.
didn't matter, which it's so annoying when a fight that as big as that with that outcome doesn't matter at all in the grand scheme of things
Yeah.
because because of Dana's ego and him wanting to make that money fight between Jones and Stipe, which honestly that fight doesn't even interest me that much. But it would be interesting to
Yeah,
see.
me neither. Especially after tonight. I mean Saturday.
Yeah, and it would be. I would love to see,
I
even
think
if they did Tom versus Stipe. I love that fight. I love him versus Jones too. I think both would be interesting. I think Tom beats both of them,
Mm,
but it would be interesting.
I think so too.
Do we think there's anyone who could beat a Tom, especially a Tom that looked as good as he did against Sergey Pavlovich?
Our boy Curtis
I think the
Blades,
only one that
guys. I'm just
might
kidding.
is
Our boy
I
Curtis
know you
Blades.
laughed at me, but
Oh, I jokingly said our
you know,
boy
I don't
Curtis
know.
Blades. The only person that has, I
I
believe,
mean, on the record it says it. On the record it says it's a loss to Blades, but I think we all know that that's a
Oh
really
no, that's not a loss.
a career loss at the end of the day. Yeah, it's terrible to like look like that on your record when like we all know what actually happened and it was
Yeah,
like
a freak injury.
injury. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
mm.
And then, so why don't we talk? Should we? Let's talk about Dern versus Andrade.
Andrade, sure, and Andrade getting the win via KO in round two.
Yep.
Yeah. Were you guys surprised?
I was decently
I
surprised.
had picked Dern, which now I look back, I think I questioned my choice, but I still think I had a good right to think of like the submission prowess of Dern.
Mm.
But I thought the fight was pretty entertaining. But what were you guys' thoughts on? Yeah, you guys.
I guess I'll go next. Going into the fight, obviously, I had also picked Dern to win by submission. I mean, the history had shown Andrade had gotten taken down and submitted. I believe in two fights recently. She was on some skid. She was getting taken
Yeah,
down
by
pretty.
Aaron
Yeah, and Aaron
into
Blanchfield.
Dennis Hart. Yeah.
And I'm looking at that like, all right, if she can, I believe Dern can as well. Even though I do believe Aaron Blanchfield has better wrestling than Dern, I believe it would be enough to where Dern could take her down and do it. But she really just didn't even try to take her down and just tried to strike with her, from what I
Yeah.
remember. And she's
She did
getting
try a
into.
couple times, but
Yeah, I
I
do
mean
know. I do
she
remember her trying like two or three times, but mainly she just was like, "All right, let's trade." And trading with or trading with Andrade is just not the right thing to do.
bad idea. Yeah, no. I had. We'll see. I thought Andrade was just washed up. Be honest. I mean, she lost to people that I thought she like for prime she should have beat at least. Aaron Blanchfield was very short notice, maybe overconfident even, and Yan Shannon she has almost no stoppages on her record, and she knocked out Andrade with like two shots. So I was like, okay, this might be the beginning of the end. And I thought, Dern with her ugly ass striking, she was gonna maybe, I thought they were just gonna crash into each other and fall, and Andrade would just fall into submission. But it went exactly as thought it would have been if Andrade were in. Because Mackenzie Dern's striking is so bad. Her chin is always in the air, and she just lunges forward with 1-2s.
Yeah,
So, I wasn't too surprised personally.
yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely agree. Taco, you go, or
Uh,
Toby.
I definitely think if the way you want to beat Jessica Andrade on the feet, I think it's definitely you need to have like good counter striking skills.
Mm.
I think that's what you saw that Jean got her, and then like the whole sequence happened, and then she beats her. Like Yan Xiaonan caught her with a clean counterpunch as well. I don't think Dern really had counter striking as well, and it doesn't seem like she has good striking to be honest. I think it's just like pretty average level, especially for like some of like the lower evenly skilled fighters in that division with her. But I think that Angela Hill fight may have made her a bit overestimate her striking ability, especially against someone like Andrade. Like even if like we can say she's washed and that kind of stuff, like Andrade has always had power punching ability. Like she's put like people like Naomi Yunez on skates. Like this is kind of something that she has had for a history of. So that was definitely a thing that I was like watching that fight. I was like, okay, this is not going well for Dern, especially if she's not trying to do and commit to takedowns like you guys have said. I think the one thing that she did go well with was a toss and then it did, or a throw, I think it was, I think, in like the first round. But then like Andrade just stood up way too easily. She didn't really commit to it, and I think she should have found a way to at least commit to it, I guess, to more being on the ground and using a BJJ. I mean, she gets a little bit too complacent, I think, especially with thinking that either her BJJ is good enough and she just chills in guard, or in guard. Sorry, wow, having a heart attack here, and for sure, yeah, and gets a little bit too complacent as well with thinking her striking will hold up, especially against someone like Andrade who does possess power.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she
Yeah,
was.
no, I mean, something to remember though is that Andrade is very strong as strawweight, and the only strawweight that beat her. Oh wait, no, both of her last two losses were strawweight. But I mean, via grappling, Tatiana Suarez is huge for the division, and Dern not so much. So I think that's why she was like kind of out of her comfort zone, and she just decided to strike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to
Was
remember
the
that.
Andrade Spars was at the flyweight right there, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, I believe so, but we have to also remember that Andrade was knocking people out when when there was only the women's bantamweight division, and she was
Yeah.
facing people that were 20 pounds heavier than her and still knocking them
Right,
out. So her power will always be there.
right. Yeah, no, good point. I mean, the power is the last thing to go. Like, even if she is indeed washed, power is gonna stay there.
Yep.
So I think that was the
Yeah.
story of the fight, to be honest. Just power of Andrade unmatched at strawweight.
Yeah. I do think also those losses like definitely like be on a losing skid, but like to have losses to Blanchfield, Tatiana Suarez. I think Yan Zhou a bit like underrated. I think a lot of people don't really look at her too well. I think her striking isn't as bad as she has proven to have counter striking at least.
Hmm.
But I think those losses aren't the worst on the record, especially like the name of like Aaron Blanchfield and Tatiana Suarez, I would say.
True, true.
But what are you guys thinking of future matchups?
I'll go
I've already
for
got one as well. I was thinking
yeah.
here.
I have one as
This
well.
one.
I have one for Andrade. I don't think she has a scheduled fight right now, but I will say Amanda Lemos. I would say we do that fight. Jessica Andrade versus Amanda Lemos. You know, Lemos is coming
Like
off
a
that.
ring.
Say that again, Goose.
But they fought before, though.
True, but I mean it's different now. Amanda Lemos. Yeah, they fought what? They fought, I believe, in 20. They fought in 2022, right? It was like beginning of 2022, but
Um,
I mean, I would say it's a bit different now. Lemos went on a 2 fight winning streak and lost to Zhang Wei Li for the title. And
mm,
Andrade has gone on her skid and is now on a 1 fight one fight winning streak. That's it. Lemos, her striking didn't look terrible against Zhang Wei Li.
mm.
In comparison to what Zhang's done to other people, and I'd say I would do that rematch. Andrade or Lemos is coming off of a loss to a title fight. Jessica Andrade is coming off to a win. It's ranked number 4 versus number 5. I'd say that fight makes sense. And for Mackenzie Dern, want to introduce her to a newcomer, Loopy Goodneys, who fought on the prelims and beat. I forget who she beat.
Tabitha Ricci.
Rishi, yeah.
How to
And
forget, man?
You know, they fought in the same card. Dern did have the TKO loss, so she might need more time. But I would say we do that
Mhm.
fight.
I agree on
I
that.
For sure. I agree with the Dern fight as well, for sure. I think the Leapy Godinez is good. And I like it especially when the pay-per-views kind of line up the next match. We're already kind of there, which
Mm.
is always fun. I think for Andrade, I kind of disagree. I think Lemos Andrade sequel would be a little bit too soon. I think the fight that I would like to see, and I put a funny note here about it, I think Color Espada Andrade.
Interesting.
And
That's also my pick.
my point was, I think the matchup from a style perspective is actually pretty cool. I think we've got pretty much just a wrestler in Esparza versus Andrade, who's had
Interesting.
issues with Tatiana Suarez and Aaron Blanchfield, but definitely has a high chance of knocking out Esparza, which is something I think a lot of people would want to see, which is what I wrote down here.
Right,
I,
right.
think
Yeah, no,
I
I
think you
agree.
guys did better at me picking for Andrade than I did.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing, to be honest. I don't know who wins that fight because, I mean, Carla has very good wrestling, but she is very small, and Andrade is very strong also. So I think it's an interesting matchup. I mean, it's interesting as a Carla Esparza fight could be, So,
Mhm. And I
but
also was seeing that in the rankings, like if we have Yan Xiaonan versus Zhang in China, hopefully, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think
You
that's
could do
what's needed.
Lemos and then Suarez, and that's how you can handle them. And I think that would be an excellent fight in itself.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
All right. Talking about the fight, the lightweights going at it. It was it was I'm pulling it up. It
Matt
was
Frivola.
Matt Frivola versus Bennett St. Denis. Wow. What a knockout. Completely
Yeah.
a head kick to finish it. You know, I had picked Matt Frivola just because he was on such a he had I believe he had all the momentum. He had just KO'd Dober. He had
Mm.
KO'd Otman Zaitar, who at the
Mm.
time had a lot of hype, and
Mm.
I thought he had all the momentum going into this fight. Bennett Satan or BSD did TKO Moises, but Moises has never been known for his striking and been more known for his grappling. So I was looking at
Yeah.
that like, all right, he's facing a big power puncher in Frivola, and I thought Frivola, who has, I believe he had better wrestling than BSD, so I gave him the slight advantage. But wow, that precision head kick as Frivola is running away, as you said earlier, Goose. It's the shots you don't see coming that knock you out, and he just did not see that coming.
Yeah. Crazy. Goose?
Yeah, no, to be honest, I had only seen one fight from BSD, and, I mean, I was more familiar with Matt Favola, so I was like, you know, I thought, from what I had heard, though, and just looking at their records, like, the tail of the tape, BSD was, like, more grappling heavy, and I thought Matt Favola would just cash him eventually, and he would panic wrestle, and I had actually picked, well, not on the server we got, but I actually thought Matt Favola was gonna win by submission. He has a couple on his record, and I was like, panic wrestling, why not? But
Interesting.
yeah, no, I was impressed by BSD. I definitely looking more into his previous fights, and I mean, made a fan out of me. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
Sure. I thought the thing with me, I picked Matt as well, but I think I picked him because I kind of saw that he had composure at least to sit back and then do a good counter, which is what he did
Mm.
against Ottman and then also against Dober. And I just thought BSD would kind of have that same high pressure as well, as he showed that he TK got Moises. I kind of just thought that as well, and especially like this is a weird thing to kind of factor in, but I was kind of thinking MSG Matt Frivola might be like a mythical fighter here, to be completely honest. But I think BSD just impressed me there. I think immediately in the fight he threw that left body kick, and then he just kept doing left body kicks. And then the first time he threw the left high kick, like the head kick, he just got him immediately. And as soon as he left that clinch exchange, like I think it was a really smart move by him to first throw that first head kick as soon as they exchanged, like left the clinch, and Matt was running along the fence to his left. He just saw it lined up and he just went for it and he got it perfectly. Um, I thought it was a beautiful finish for sure, and the grappling in that fight was actually really awesome. I really enjoyed that. It was really high-paced grappling, and there was a really awesome sweep by. I'm just going to call him BSD because I think that's the easiest way to call him. I thought it was a really awesome fight, and I thought BSD, like, I haven't seen much of his fights. The Moises one was the only one I've seen, but really impressed me, especially with his striking, and especially the kicks. I thought he did phenomenal with the body kicks, and then obviously the head kick that got finished.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I will say, it's like going into that wrestling, it was back and forth early on, where they were kind of trading a little bit of power punches. They had the BSD had the sweep, and then they get up, and Matt Frivola gets up and just slams him, and then they stand up and just gets that. It was just such a high pace, high fun fight that lasted a lot shorter than I expected. I was like, okay, I predicted Matt by unanimous decision. I thought BSD was going. I think I assumed I had nothing to base it off of, but I assumed he had a chin and was. I heard he was mainly a a striker, so I was like, okay, I think he's going to be able to survive all the way through, and I think the power strikes from Frivola were going to win it for him, but it was really that insane kick for him, and I'm very impressed. So, going into uh, fights for these two guys, who do you guys say?
Right, I got a spicy one for DSD. Let's just do him against Chandler. Because, well, I mean, Chandler's a Connor, but he shouldn't. He should not even be top 5 right now. I think he should be ranked around where BSD is currently ranked. I think BSD is newly ranked as number 11. Oh, actually tied with Jalen Turner. Interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that's around the level where Chandler is at, and I think them duking it out, one, it would be fireworks. And two, I think it'd be a good test for BSD to see if he's top 10 material, perhaps. So that's what I would like to see personally.
And what do you got for Vola?
For Frivola, to be honest, I mean, I don't know. There's a couple fun matchups. I would like to see Moicano fight. I mean, actually, I like to see Moicano fight up. So I don't know. I think
one thing with Moicano, I think he's been saying that him versus Jalen Turner is gonna happen.
oh, that's a good fight. That's a good fight. And to be honest, I would like Frivola to fight within the top 15, but the rankings are almost up. I mean, RDA isn't in fighting at lightweight anymore, and he's still ranked. So
It's messed up.
I don't have a fight in mind for Frivola, to be honest.
I have two, so I could help with that. Taco, do you want to go? I'll go last.
For sure, yeah. To be honest with BSD, I think the Physio fight is the one I like. I like that matchup as well. I think that'll be fun. A Frenchman versus whatever the nationality of Physio is, I can't remember.
Georgian, I think?
um,
No.
but I think that's a good fight. I think that seems cool, and especially the only concern there would be injury rise, obviously with Fiziev, and seeing if he's still out, especially after the Gamrot fight. But that's definitely like the one asterisk there. If not, I think maybe a Gamrot fight can like be pretty good. I don't think that we can let a Gamrot and Fiziev win be something that makes him just fight up, especially in lightweight and being at that ranking that he is. Like to fight up, that's a pretty big thing. Um, on the end of Favola, I'm looking at the topology rankings here. Joel Alvarez, I think that would be
That's a good one.
awesome. I would love that. Matt Favola versus Joel Alvarez, for sure. I think that's it in my head.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, I
Right.
agree. I agree with you, Toby. And for BSD, I agree with that. Fiziev fight, obviously the injury. We don't know how long Fiziev's going to be out, and if that's the case, I'd say maybe a Gamrot fight if Fiziev's out. But I don't know how much I like that. I kind of want a Gamrot versus Poirier fight, but Poirier's never going to take that fight.
True.
But yeah, I agree. Fiziev, I like that fight. It'll be interesting with the technical aspect of Fiziev and his takedown defense. Uh, it'll be interesting. It might be too quick, as this is BSD's second fight in the UFC, I believe, and we're already throwing him in with Fiziev, a freaking killer. But I do like that fight. If Jalen Turner versus Moicano doesn't happen, I will like BSD versus Turner. That would also be a good one. For Matt Frivola, I was saying let's do Elvis Brenner.
Mm,
Ooh.
that one's
I,
good. That was interesting.
I like that
I
fight.
like
I
it.
like that.
Frivola was just in the rankings, and now he's out of the rankings after this loss. It was a tough loss, but it was also a very fun one. Brenner, he beat my boy Guram Kutatalatse. Hurt me deeply, but I like
He
him.
did.
And then he had a very good performance where I believe he was actually the underdog in his recent
Oh, was
fight.
he?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
he
looking
was.
at the odds
Yeah.
before, and he was the underdog. And that in that great KO, I would love to see Brenner versus Frivola. But the other fight I would have for Frivola is maybe if you do Demir Ismagulov. Ismagulov has been having to face
I thought he
grapplers.
retired.
No, he did not retire. Yeah,
Uh,
Mhm.
he ended up not
Gee.
retiring, luckily. But
Mhm.
he said he was originally going to retire, but then he says he wants to come back and do all this other stuff. He was like, I'm just gonna do it one more, and then was like, all right, I want to stay here. Yeah, Demir's had to
Mhm.
face a lot of grapplers, and it seems that that's his weakness. So with
Mhm.
Frivola, I mean, Frivola is very down to wrestle, but he's also just he likes let me bang, bro, let me bang, and I
Yeah.
feel that would be a great fight for Demir and for Frivola. Demir had a lot of
Mhm.
hype after beating again my boy. My boy just can't stop taking L's. Can't stop on.
uh,
Can't stop
the
taking
adventures
them.
of being a Goram fight man, a fan.
The only
right.
the
The
only
only one. One of the
That
only
kind of made me
five.
think though when you mentioned Demir. I'm thinking here, like I don't know if I would say Demir or Elvis Brenner deserve to get a fight that could enter them into the rankings. However, a dude that just recently beat Demir, but coming off a loss, Grant
Ooh,
Dawson. Do
Grant
you think that could
Dawson.
possibly a fight then? Grant Dawson versus Matt Favola.
Ooh.
That could be a good one. I do think Frivola KOs him round one, as it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like Green has a good chin. I mean, even before that
Mm,
Demir fight, I picked Demir because I mean Bobby or not Bobby Green, Grant Dawson. He had
Grant
got
Dawson.
hurt from
Yeah.
Mark Madsen, and he had gotten hurt from a bunch of other fighters before that. So he doesn't seem like he has a good chin. And then when he fought Bobby Green, just immediate KO. I do believe
Mm,
that Frivola KOs him, but that would also that rankings wise, that's a fight that makes sense. And I do
Mhm.
mhm.
believe Frivola, he has the wrestling, I think, to stop Dawson's takedowns.
For sure, American wrestler on American wrestler, baby.
Oh yeah.
All right. So what do we
That's
think
the
about
good
the?
love for sure.
What do you think about the last fight on the main card?
Diego
Diego
Lopez.
Lopez
Diego
beat
Lopez
the hell out of
versus
Sabatini.
Pat Sabatini. I remember a lot of people were picking against Diego Lopez, and
Crazy.
I know a lot of people were
That's
picking
crazy.
Diego Lopez by sub or Pat Sabatini by sub, but I knew Pat knew how to grapple, and I knew his weakness was
Yeah,
the striking, and I was happy. I
for sure.
predicted second round
Hmm.
KO, but Diego Lopez gets it done round one. Very very good. Uh,
Yeah,
Goose, do you want to give your breakdown first?
Sure, I love that fight. I loved it. I was not familiar with Sabatini before. I'm gonna be completely honest, but it seems like the talk was that he was a grappler, and it's a tough matchup basically for Lopez. But I had also predicted Lopez by submission for the same reason. I mean, his performance against Evloev told me enough personally. I mean, he's a very, very capable grappler. And he actually coaches Alexa Grasso for Jiu Jitsu, I think. So he's the coach for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for that whole team in Mexico, I believe. So I don't know. I thought it was gonna. I just knew that Diego was gonna get a finish because I know he has some knockouts on his record as well, and he's a finisher. I think he has only won like one or two fights out of like 25 by decision. So but wow, still impressive. He knocked him out cold with the ground and pound, which is insane. So this point, I would just like to see him fight a top 15 guy. I don't really care for any other matchup right now, personally. I think he's clearly at that level, at least.
Yeah.
for
Taco
sure.
or
Um,
Toby?
oh yeah, that's all cool. I don't mind either one. Yeah, like you said, I didn't really see the people picking Pat Sabatini, but I saw that Lopez was the underdog, and that was just weird to me. Not gonna lie, and that's why I was like, this is a bit weird, especially since Sabatini. Like, I agree with you. Like, both of them are pretty good. Like understanding like from grappling perspective, Lopez, BJJ, and Sabatini is pretty accomplished in his own rights as well. But like Sabatini striking, he got TKO'd by Damon Jackson. I'm like, I don't know how that person can be the favorite.
Yeah.
But for sure, I was just like, yeah, I wasn't expecting Pat to win on the striking, but like he did pretty well for like a major like the first half of like whatever was going on in the first round. And he did get caught clean, Lopez, but nah, Lopez just kind of showed that he definitely does know what he's doing striking wise. I found it funny that before that finish, the finishing sequence of the uppercut and then the overhand while exiting a clinch that like dropped Pat and like he started running away and whatever. Like that exact same thing happened literally a couple seconds before as well when Pat exited the clinch as well and then attempted that double leg. And then after that, the exact same thing happened and then he he got clipped a lot harder, obviously, it seems. But definitely seemed like a thing about clinch exiting that Pat
Hmm.
really doesn't know how to do well and like not get hit from.
Diego
But
also kind of manhandled him. I mean, Pat went in for a takedown, and Diego just said, "Nope, I take you
yeah,
down." You know,
Yeah.
I was surprised about that.
Yeah.
You know,
All right, getting into potential fights.
mhm,
I've got one for both. For Diego
mhm.
Lopez, I want to see him fight Yusuf, the guy that Barbosa just beat.
Ooh,
Uh,
ooh,
but yeah, it'll be interesting match for him for entering the top 15. I believe he's ranked 13th now. I'm looking at typology and he's got him there. I
mm,
don't know if that's correct, but um,
not official, no,
not official. Look at the
not on the
official.
UFC rankings. Oh, you
Uh,
mean
oh
Yusuf?
yeah, he's
Yeah.
12th there. Wow, he's actually 12th. Okay. Okay, so he's higher than it was, but yeah, I would love to see that fight. I think Diego Lopez is on a roll. You Yus, or I don't know how to say his name, but Yusuf kind of got
Yeah.
fraud checked by a past prime Edson Barbosa, but Barbosa is on a winning streak now. You know, he TKO'd his opponent before that, got a dominant
Hmm.
decision versus him. I think I do believe Lopez will beat him in the grappling aspect. I do think he'll just take him down and submit him, but it will be interesting. And for and this might be a little mean, but for Pat Sabatini, whatever the heck his name is, Sabatine, I'd say put him against Cub Swanson and just let Cub destroy him, and let the legend get a let the legend have a W.
For sure. I agree. I think the Yusuf fight's not like a good fight. I really don't have any issues with the Yusuf fight or an Alex Caceres fight. I think both of them make sense to me. I don't mind whoever gets it. I think Alex Caceres fight is a bit bigger of a name, and like I could see them trying to push Diego Lopez now, especially with the amount of hype that he seems to have now. He's got a lot of momentum with him. That was a big factor going into this fight for me. It's just like, man, Lopez is getting pushed. The UFC know that he's being a fan favorite.
Yeah,
Um,
which is
so
kind
in
of
that
funny.
instance, and I
Keep
yeah.
going, keep going.
I was going to say, and I perfectly agree with the Cub Swanson one. I think that's awesome, and I want to see Cub win. I think we all love seeing Cub win.
And
Yeah,
Goose.
no. Personally, for Diego, I just want to see him fight anyone in the top 15. I think Danige would be a tougher fight. I'm I don't remember if he has a fight booked, but he actually called out Rice Mitchell, which is a very, very hard fight for Diego, stylistically. But I think, Alex Caceres or Sodiq is probably good. As long as it's a ranked opponent, I don't care, to be honest.
Yeah, interesting.
And
Bryce Mitchell. I
for,
didn't think about that.
I mean, it's a tough matchup. And I think Bryce should just fight Evlov personally. I think good matchup, and it was supposed to fight anyway. So
Yeah,
I don't like Diego versus Bryce, at least not right now.
yeah, I agree with you there.
So,
All right. Well,
yeah.
that was the main card. Let's why don't we discuss a little bit about future upcoming fights? I believe let's I do we want to talk about Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig?
Yeah, we can talk about it for a bit. Yeah, for sure.
All right. I don't know too much about Brendan Allen. I've seen some of his fights, but I it tends to be when I'm in a rush and I'm like, all right, I gotta I gotta turn off the stream and go do something. And I know a bit about Paul Craig. Paul Craig his striking seems to have gotten a lot better since coming down to middleweight. Uh, but I
Hmm.
don't know too much about Brendan Allen. I will just for my limited knowledge. I'll favor Paul Craig because of his jujitsu and that his striking is getting a little bit better, and he'll have power at this division. What do you guys think? Taco, you seem to know, or
Um,
Toby, you seem to know
I,
more.
to be honest, I haven't really done a lot of looking into this fight night. I think it's a little quite a subpar fight night, that's for sure. um,
Yes.
but I'll definitely say I kind of feel like both of them do have actually pretty good BJJ. But if I would rely on someone more, probably be Paul Craig. I also just really enjoy Paul Craig as like a fighter, as a personality. He's just kind of he's a really sick fighter, and I think everyone can get behind a Scottish fighter. I think that's awesome in every sense of it. Um, but to be honest, I think I've just kind of trust. I really do trust Paul Craig more to get this done from a subbing position. I think just like the people who Paul Craig have fought, I hold to a lot higher standard than the people that Brendan Allen have fought. But I would digress that again. I wouldn't say I'm too well versed with Brendan Allen, especially.
Yeah. Goose.
honest, I don't care about this fight at all, but I do favor. I'm leaning Paul Craig. I don't think they'll grapple too much, personally. I mean, they both, yeah, I mean, pretty capable submission or jiu-jitsu practitioners. So I think they'll just try to test out their striking against each other. Um, but I don't know. I think maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm winning Craig just by trying to outpoint, and I do think he might be a bit bigger than Brendan Allen. They both have fought at light heavyweight though, but I'm not too sure. I don't really care, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I think that's the main thing we all agree on, especially since what's following up it. This card we just don't necessarily care about. It's a pretty weak card. We do have Jordan Levitt versus um,
Mhm.
Chase Hopper, but
Ace Hooper.
Hooper, yeah, and it's like even that fight, I don't think many of us care for, especially since
Yeah.
it's again 2 weeks after that we have Benil Dariush versus Arman Saryukin, which
That
is
is
a
an awesome fight night.
very
That is how you do a fight night, in my
that is a
opinion,
good
for
fight
sure.
there. Which
I find
I'll
it weird
say.
that
Go ahead.
yeah. I find it weird that on this upcoming card that the Jonathan JSP versus Joanson Brito is in the prelims, but you've got you've got all these like the main card fights are just not really as good, I would say, as compared to JSP versus Joe Anderson Brito, but that's a bit weird. And hopefully Jake Matthews gets the dub for us fucking Aussies. Let's go.
All right. I will say that I'll say let's conclude our podcast. Thank
Yeah.
everyone for listening to us. Should I'll link if they want their social medias in the description. And any last remarks?
Um, we'll see you next time.
So yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see you
and
next
drop
time.
feedback and comments if you like or whatever.
Yeah,
So
I believe
yeah,
we're
hope
gonna
you
try
enjoyed
and
it.
commit to a weekly video. I think depending on your time, Toby, we'll figure something out. But I'd say, hey, good first podcast,
For sure.
Oh yeah.
and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.